Welcome in, welcome in, welcome once again to the newest edition of 3 In, 3 Out, the most unique Seahawks recap podcast out there. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner. Find me out on Twitter at Clinton Bon, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz. Find him out on Twitter at SeahawkersPod, and we are coming in. I don't know. I am hoping this is a low, Brandon. I'm hoping this is the valley. I hope we've reached the bottom here, because a second overtime loss in a young season to drop us to 2-4 against a team that we have a crap history against with bad referee calls. We dropped 23-20 to the Steelers in overtime in a game where we had unsung heroes that coulda, shoulda, and would have been heroes if not for a few mistakes. So now we're 2-4, Brandon. So as we hit this 3 In, 3 Out, how's your mentals? How's your chickens? What's going on with you?
You know, that's awfully optimistic of you to think that this could be rock bottom after just one game with our backup quarterback into an unknown stretch of games with the backup quarterback. I applaud your optimism.
Sometimes you could be glass half full, you could be glass half empty. I just say grab the garden hose of life there, Brandon, right? So just drink,
turn on full blast.
Yeah, just drink from the hose. All that good bacteria we took in as a kid didn't hurt us none, right? Just bathe in life here. And yes, I hope you're right. I certainly am an optimist. We're going to talk about it. We talked about it before we got on. There was a lot of, it was fun. It was actually an entertaining game, sans maybe the first half, but it was a fun game. We got a lot out of the Seahawks, came up a little short. And I don't know, there were still things here that make me believe we're not that bad. Like that we're closer to good. And I know that might sound insane. I still think we're closer to good than we are bad.
Really, if you break it down by quarter, there was really only one really bad quarter and then one really bad play in overtime that led to the loss ultimately. But outside the second quarter, it didn't look too bad.
Yeah, exactly. First quarter was a bit of a slog fest, and we'll talk, there's some plays we're going to go in and out, of course, here. It's what we do. But you're right. Second quarter was
I was thinking of the defense really shutting down.
Of course, yeah. No, they played
the first quarter, so there was good stuff to take away out of the
exactly. They played a good. It was these pockets. It's this thing where pretty much we have a theme going. We're like, oh, was it a complete game? We didn't play a complete game. We played pockets of a good game. We barely lost, and you know what? I have to probably come to grips when those are the things that are happening. You're probably not a good team. You might not be a good team, especially when you don't have your, Hall of Fame quarterback out there. And, we're not going to talk. I don't have that much Geno on this sheet. So just saying out of the gate that people are rushing for Cam Newton, like,
oh no.
Once Geno in the second half and overtime was something like 15 for 18 with like 160 yards. Like Geno was fine. I've seen way lesser quarterbacks win NFL games. Geno was fine.
I don't know what more you would expect that Cam Newton would be able to bring in place of Geno Smith. So and maybe that's just me thinking they're about the same guy at this point in their career. And maybe Cam, there's more question with him, with his health, and gosh, with his attitude, you have to wonder about that. Geno has a much better outlook and persona about him. I feel like that I think he would be able to. You can already tell that he has respect within the locker room. And would Cam bring that? Sure. But what are you going to do? It's so temporary. Why would you? It just doesn't seem like Cam was one of those guys that, okay, if you know your starter is going to be out for the long-term rest of the season, then maybe.
Yeah, then it's still a maybe. Got to learn a playbook. He's going to bring all his hats. You got to remember that. You got to give him an extra room just for his hats.
Practically needs 2 lockers. Just
he needs a second locker. You know, who's paying for that in this economy? Who's paying for a second locker? So it's just this frenzy around Geno, I think is just dumb. I think it's a big charade. People grasping at straws. But on the flip side of that, Brandon, before we do get into these delicious nooks and crannies, which we will, I do want to turn your attention. I know we got to get into this game. Brandon, who's our opponent next week?
New Orleans Saints.
What is the Saints' record?
They are 3-3, I think.
3-2, because I had a bye this week. Okay, they're right. 3-2. All right,
Panthers 3-3.
Correct. If you go up and down the NFC, like I know I might be a Pollyanna, but I don't care. Like I'm looking at facts here. Cardinals, Rams. Okay, book them. They're in. Packers. Yep, winning their division. They're in. All right. Vikings, Bears at 3-3. Cowboys 5-1. Book them. They're in. Nobody else in that division's making a stink. Buccaneers. Yep, they're winning their division. Then you got the Saints at 3-2 and the Panthers at 3-3. It's like, I know we're not winning right now. This Saints game, this might be it. Like this actually might be the season really, really kind of early for us. Because then we're going, we'd be behind the Saints by multiple games, and then the Vikings are already ahead of us.
Yeah, you have to worry about tiebreakers with some of these teams, like the Vikings, and you got the Bears late in the season that they're at 3-3. Fortunately, you hold it over the 49ers at the moment, and you have to wonder if they're going to go anywhere with their quarterback situation, all their injuries.
No, they're not that good.
Yeah, so
they're not that good.
There's. Now, do you want to be the team that gets in at 10-7?
Yes.
And
yes.
I do too.
Yes.
I was beginning to ask the question because
I got you. I understand. Let's get a higher second round pick. No, go try to win now. Go try to win right now, because I know it doesn't happen that often in football, happens kind of more in other sports, but it does happen. It does happen where the 6th seed, maybe the 7th seed can make a run. And if you can make a run, you never know. You never know what the freak could happen in football. It is a brutal, brutal game, and there are ups and downs. And hey, some of these best teams that I just said are locks for the playoffs, they might not even make the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see how it all crumbles.
And you're going to be facing a division winner, and if that division winner now if it's the Packers and you got to travel there, that's going to be tough. You got to travel to Tampa. That's winter.
It's all tough. It's all yeah.
But if it's Arizona or the Rams, you want to knock them out in the first round. So I absolutely want to see that game.
So let's just there's a lot of, hey, let's just go for the higher second round pick and let's admit this is it. No, it's not. It's still not over. If we lose to the Saints and we're at 2-5, I'm probably singing a very, very different tune. But
I will wait till the bye week. No,
there you go. I like it. But it's not over, man. It is, like, for everybody out there that's like, sell this, that, the other thing. It's like, man, can you just look at that? There was good stuff, and we will get into some of that along with some crap. That just get healthy, get right, sneak into the playoffs, and you can still make some noise. Don't give up. Do never give up the hope that you can make a friggin' run ever.
Sounds like you could give the locker room speech right now, Clinton.
Well, if we had Cam Newton, I don't know if there'd be room for me because all his freaking hats. So enough with that already. Let's get to the ins and outs. We take the loss. We got to start with an out. Hit the whammy. Let's rock and roll. All right, we're gonna start at the end because TJ Watt showed up 2 times. That's both overtime, right?
He showed up a little bit in this game.
Yeah, I showed up a lot of bit.
I'm guessing there's some bruises on our running back, Alex Collins, like in the ribs and
I mean, just
in the helmet from
throwing haymakers. Yeah, that was
punches. Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, that's not a penalty." I'm like, "You out of your freak? What are you
he was aiming for the ball. He swung 6 times and he hit the ball once.
Yeah, it's one thing if you're Cam Chancelloring the thing, like going, Calvin Johnson across the finish line there, and then of course you got a KJ Wright out of the end zone like Spider-Man did, which was beautifully illegal, but somehow didn't get called. Love that play. He's just throwing haymakers. The guy stood up and he's just pounding on him. So yeah. Anyway, my out here is the fumble, and this is not for Geno. I just went into a whole soliloquy of like why it's not Geno. We send the entire right-hand side, including DJ Dallas and our center and our guard and our tackle to the to the right side, TJ Watt's left side. And I'm laughing because he makes the friggin' play. Collinsworth talks about this. My out is for Kyle Fuller because in the entire play, he doesn't touch one human being until the ball's lost.
Ooh.
He doesn't touch. Go back and watch the play. He doesn't touch one human in that entire sequence. And the last guy that TJ Watt sprints by to get back to sprinting Geno, it's Kyle Fuller. He is completely flat-footed. Now, I am not trying to TJ Watt looking like he could obviously make the Hall of Fame and what is tantamount to basically a backup center, like a very, below average center in the NFL. I get all that. He's flat-footed, and as a NFL player, you got a dude storming back. You overloaded that side to prevent TJ Watt from doing that, and you didn't stop him, and you didn't move your feet, and he didn't get a hand on anybody. So it's just got to be what it is, that he's wearing the giant fat O, because that's just a fail, man.
If your primary job is blocking, and on the play, you can't even register what would be considered a block, let alone many blocks. That's worthy of the first out.
Yeah, it's like, what am I going to do with a gun rack, right? So that's it is amazing. And
what are we going to do with Kyle Fuller?
Yeah, what are we going to do? When is Posick back? I thought he was coming
back this week.
Right. So, it's not that Fuller's been dreadful.
I really, though, I don't know how much of an upgrade you're getting between those two guys, honestly.
I don't know either. I don't know either. And I know we get into the nitty gritty and we do nitpick. That's what we do. We pick nits here on 3 and 3 out. But if you don't lay a hand on the dude and you're literally flat-footed as Watt blows by you to make the play, well, then you're going to get called out in the show. And that's the bottom line. We lose the game because of that play, and you're not moving your feet and not using your hands. So, no comprende here. That's
in his defense, he did only register one pressure by Pro Football Focus standards.
Like I said, I don't think he's been an abject disaster. In some ways, he's been good. And I don't have Collins on the inside of the column because I think lots of folks are talking up Collins. Well, along with Collins is the run blocking for periods of time was freaking great.
Oh yeah,
it was great. Yeah, we came out and just destroyed even the first quarter. You hinted at it earlier that it wasn't that bad of a quarter. It was way, but the second quarter was a disaster.
And even if you go to the second quarter, not a single offensive lineman missed a block on a running play. It's amazing.
I think I know why. I think I saw you send out a tweet that in the second quarter we had 10
0 times.
0 times. Yeah. So that's one way to have a really.
That's how you get a perfect quarter.
That's how you do it. So yeah. All right. So that's the out. It's for Fuller. Yeah. When you're blocking, you got to use your hands. How about that? All right. There was so much good here. I mean, that's the thing. That's what we keep saying. All season, every single recap. I do want to start here. This is quarter 1, 9 minutes to go, 0-0 ball game at this point. And this is a deep shot down the left-hand side to Deontay Johnson. And I'm calling out the specific play. It's emblematic of how number 2 played pretty much the whole game. DJ Reed making the play on the ball. He played, I thought, sans 1 or 2 plays that he gave up, but he was targeted quite a bit. DJ Reed was awesome in this game. I thought he was outstanding. Best game of the year I've seen him play. He made multiple plays in the first half and really throughout the entire game. I just want to pause there and send it over to you and say, what did you see from Reed? What did you see from maybe others out there also from the DBs that maybe, did give you some hope?
I mean, I don't know if this is going to come up later, but I feel like if I'm going to point my finger toward one particular cornerback, it's going to be on the opposite side. And it's not the guy who's Sidney Jones. It's the guy who replaced him.
Yep. And I do want to touch on that one later.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll stick with Reed for now.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought this was a good game by Reed. I have my and when you look at his statistics, 4 receptions throwing his way out of 8 targets, so 50%. That is good.
Yeah, that's
Gave up
good.
61 yards, 10 yards after the catch. Yeah, that's considering the number of targets. It was that average out to 2.5 yards after the catch. So a good stat line for DJ Reed for sure.
Yeah, and he's going to factor into another in that's going to go to somebody else. Another key play as well, where I just thought he did his job better than I've seen him do it. And as a unit across the board, our DBs played pretty well. When we, it turns out when we used defensive backs to cover people, they did pretty well. So
yeah, how about that?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea to use your DBs to cover people. That the play I'm not even going to mention. It's not even in the out column. You're probably picking up what I'm putting down there, and I'm not even going there. So, anything else on the DB side, or are you ready to hit the whammy button there?
Well, I guess let's flip it back over to the outside.
All right, let's go. Okay. All right. So speaking of doing odd things with with players that are on the line of scrimmage, I'm not going to talk about the Mayoa play on Najee Harris. Everybody's talking about that. What can I say? But I agree. What can I say besides I don't want to see a defensive end covering a shifty.
This is the first touchdown, right?
The first touchdown out of the backfield, and then we see number 10, and we're like, "Ooh, number 10, that's a DB." Nope, we're still a little. I think we're still tricked by that. I think that's what maybe Pete and Ken Norton are anchoring on. They're like, they're not used to it yet. They're gonna think it's a defensive back. It's cool until it's not. But another one we did again early in the game. We're pressing, we're up on them, where it seems like it's more like the San Francisco game early, and I'm like, this is better. This is what we call for. Q1, 4:50 to go, 0-0. This is after the Barton goof. I'm not sure I blame Barton, but the punt is down by Amadi at like the half-yard line, and then Barton
trips over his own.
Yeah, he trips over DJ Dallas, and he's in the end zone. It was like all that kind of stuff doomed us. Like little things like that just doomed us throughout the entire game. Like little execution things didn't go our way. The next play though, so they get the ball, placed at the 20, right? The next play, we rushed two dudes on the next play and I went back and watched it. I was like, what happened here? Like, how'd they get a 9-yard dump off to, Freiermuth, who was wide open when we rushed 2? So I went back and looked at it. It's actually kind of an interesting little, I'm not saying it worked, but Puna and Monet both tag team Eric Ebron. So they take him. Trey Brown follows a wide receiver downfield left-hand side. And then Jordan Brooks, he has a choice to go cover the flat, which is where, Freiermuth is going, or triple team Eric Ebron. Brandon, do you know which one he chose?
He chose the triple team.
The Seahawks successfully shut down Eric Ebron because obviously the man's going to run end arounds all day long. And so they triple Ebron. Freiermuth is out in the flat, and this play designed to confuse, old Ben, just blows up in their face. And it's like maybe conceptually rushing 2 is maybe not a good idea anyway. But then execution wise, it's a fail. It's just Brooks fail. As far as I could diagnose it, that's Brooks's guy. He's wide open. Roethlisberger does not have a strong arm. So he just, rookie of the year floats it out there to him. And Freiermuth does this thing and gets 9 yards on first down. It was just frustrating as all get out to be a weird play call, and then to have poor execution on top of it. It was just emblematic of when we do dumb things with people that really ought to be rushing the passer.
There's a time in my mind where you would choose to run that play call. And that time is when you just see Ben dropping back, immediately getting rid of the ball, dropping back, immediately getting the ball. He is just tearing you up because he's getting rid of it so quickly, and 4 straight plays. He's getting into a rhythm. Yeah. And that's when you say, okay, let's just rush to drop 9 back. Maybe with him getting rid of it so quickly, we can disrupt this timing and this rhythm that he's in. That wasn't the situation here. This was first down, the very first play of the drive.
I almost, yes. Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. There's not much else to say there except for, and to preface all that again with up until that point, they were not having success. We were shutting
Right.
their offense down routinely until we just gave. We gave them those yards. And I realized they don't score on that drive. But again, things like that just kept coming back to me. I was like, I gotta call that one out because it's just a big bag of dumb. And I agree with you. There's
But then
maybe
again, if Brooks, maybe covers the guy who doesn't have anybody on him versus the guy who has two players already on him,
sure
maybe that works out a little bit differently.
could have been tackled for gain of 3 or whatever. Like maybe it's deflected. Yeah, could be. So I don't know if it's Brooks. I don't know if it's the play call. It was genuflecting when there was just no darn good reason to kiss the ring at that point because they had done nothing to deserve that treatment. All right, we got fun stuff. Here. Okay, so I'm gonna hit this one up and say didn't hear any more news today except for that Taylor traveled home with the team. He has all his, everything he wants to do with his extremities. They're working fine. Obviously, you don't put a dude back on a plane. Awesome. Obviously awesome.
He was asked in his 710 interview if there was any chance that Taylor could be ready to go, as crazy as it sounds, by the New Orleans game on Monday night. And Pete wasn't ready to go there quite yet, but it at least it sounded as though, more positive things than negative.
Yeah, which wouldn't be totally surprising, right? It's like, hey, you could have a nasty shot that looks bad and nasty, and as much as I could blast the NFL for doing a lot of things that I question, being overly cautious as possible with neck injuries ain't going to be one of them, right? So they do the right thing, and it's scary, of course, looking. And the good news is most of the time it's not a Shazier, a thing there. So, which is good. Doesn't seem to be that whatsoever. And hopefully we get Taylor back because we could use him versus Saints because we don't seem to have a freaking pass rush without him, by the way. So dudes who make a lot of money, this is not an out, this is an in, dudes who make a lot of money and new dudes we brought in sure ain't getting to the pass rusher. And, it's not that Big Ben is Lamar Jackson either, right? But Q3, 17-14 Stellars, and there's 1:35 to go in the third quarter. It's 3rd and 7. And this is the play. Again, DJ Reed ends up breaking a play up down the left-hand side this time. Nice 25, 30-yard deep shot. Taylor is on Big Ben in like 1.9 seconds. It is like maybe even faster. He does. There is some, I wrote the dude down, Dan Moore. So Dan Moore is the left tackle for Pittsburgh. Just if people want to go back and like rewatch a play and be like, is somebody special? Do they have a special trait? So quarter 3, 1:35 to go, 3rd and 7. Watch how damn quick Taylor gets into Big Ben's grill. He has to get rid of it, barely gets rid of it, disrupts the entire play. Reed makes a nice stop, and they got to punt the ball away. But man, oh man, we talked about this last week, Brandon. Like, hey, can he get some more snaps? We know he's showing out. Can he be that special more often? Can he show out that much more often? With all health things considered here, if this dude can just stay healthy, he's putting together a season that is, if you get right back on the field, he's cruising towards 10 plus sacks, cruising. And again, all intents and purposes, this is his rookie year. He is cruising to 10, 12 sacks if he stays healthy.
Right. Yeah. And the meaning behind this particular play too is that the Seahawks had just got their second touchdown to bring it within 3, and then this gave the offense the opportunity, gave them back the football, and they were able to ultimately get into field goal range on the next drive. Now we can talk about that third down that didn't go so great that led to that field goal.
Oh boy,
But yes, it was this play that led to the punt that allowed the team to get back in it, get it tied up in the fourth quarter, and made you think that, maybe Geno could lead this team to a fourth quarter victory.
I mean, it certainly felt that's how it was going to go, right? So that particular play, the Big Ben fumble play, there, I'm not going to put a penalty a dumb call by the refs on the outside of the ledger, but after the fumble, a phantom hold on Jamar. I mean, just complete phantom. It's just Super Bowl.
It was
It's a phantom hold. It's just it's not a friggin' hold. It's just
it wasn't. Now you want to see a phantom hold? Go back to Super Bowl
40. Yeah, I know. I know.
And that was a phantom hold.
Yeah,
but
this is more. This was not.
It's one of those things that they don't call.
I mean, barely.
They called it here.
Yeah, but to your point, like it certainly did feel that we had momentum. And again, we're talking like we had momentum. We could have won. We should have won. We didn't win. It's one of those things where that might be a symbol of not a great team. But I'm not willing to go there yet because I do think
thanks to replay review. Gosh, you have that holding. You have the Ben pass that was called incomplete. We were a Geno Smith, illegal block on a tackle away from a trifecta in this game from the referees.
Yeah, we certainly were. And at the end of the day, you can't depend on the refs to get.
Not that we're still bitter about Super Bowl 40.
Yeah, no, my gosh, I am. You could hit the button now. It's fine. I am. And that was an in. By the way, that was an in. All right, we'll get to the last out here. Q2, 7-0, 4:07 to go. Pittsburgh's on the Seattle 31. Now, this is after Brian Monet, for some reason, decides to rip an offensive lineman's helmet off. That's not the out I'm going to call out. But if you're, I understand it's heat of the battle. I get that. I understand things get heated in the trenches. If you're actively ripping another player's helmet off in the play, you might get called. You might get flagged for 15 yards. Where I can complain about a phantom hold. This was an obvious one, and that's not the out. That moves the ball forward to the 31. So right after that play, it's a little dump off to Harris, so Najee Harris, and I think it's Dunlap. I think he creates some good pressure here, and to the side you got Sidney Jones, who's got sideline. We're good. He's got sideline covered, and then you got Marquise Blair, who I thought played a pretty good game. Otherwise, you got Marquise Blair going to square up Harris, and he can't go outside. That's completely covered. Now, Harris is a talented back. I get it. Harris hits the old B button spin move and just jukes Blair so badly. Goes upfield for 6 yards, makes it 2nd and 4. And there's other things that happen here. Ends up with a 3rd and 3 later, and that's when Alton Robinson jumps off sides to give him the first down. It was a bit of a comedy of errors, and playing clean and making open field tackles. It's one thing if I'm like, all right, you're one-on-one on a dude and Najee Harris makes a great play and jukes you. That's one thing. This was not. This was 2-on-1 where one side is completely covered. The only thing you can't let him do is get back inside. And he failed to do so. Cost them crucial yards right there. And they end up making it 14-0 on that drive. So I like the way Blair played for the most part. We got to execute. He's got to take the L on that play. Don't know if that one stuck with you, Brandon.
It stuck with me in the way that you almost made it sound like Sidney Jones had no fault in this play at all. But if you go back and watch Sidney Jones' tackle attempt, I don't even think he got a hand around the ankles of Harris. Like, he literally dove at Harris's feet and ended up with nothing. So if you say that he doesn't deserve any of the blame on this, the man just dove to the ground and nothing happened.
So we got Najee Harris with the Madden, B spin move, and we got Sidney Jones with the Tecmo Bowl. I'm not sure if that's A or B, but just a straight dive where if you miss time,
diagonally in the opposite direction. It's one of those. And
he gets nothing. He actually did that last week too. There was a play to the side on the right hand side where he dove early. Oh, I think it was the deflection play that Kupp ended up getting after Jordan Brooks deflected it. So that's two in a row there. So I'm okay to share the land there. It's, we have the brand in. We haven't had that in a few weeks. So if this is a shared out and you want to loop Jones in, I'm okay with it. Open field tackling, you got to stick the guy. You have to stick the guy. So those are the 3 outs. We does leave us to land us on an in, which maybe we can talk about some open field tackling. What do you say?
All right, let's get to it.
Yes. All right. So the only, blessing in disguise, silver lining here is that when we lose, we do get to finish with an in. Um,
And in this particular game, we get to finish with a soul being taken on the
yes,
field.
good, beautiful, way to frame that up. And it's, so I think the listeners who've heard this show before, you're probably grooving on this by now, but we're talking, this is now overtime, right? This is 3rd and 4, 5:15 to go in overtime. Pittsburgh's got the ball. I think they're at like their own 26-yard line. Oh, this is the play. So Dunlap doesn't show up in the stat sheet. I don't think he had any stats, like literally, not I'm being literal here. However, on this play, he smokes his guy, beats whoever the right end is there, right tackle, beats him badly, and he forces Ben just out of the pocket real quickly, and Ben has to make a decision, gets a dump off pass to Ray McCloud, number 14. Remember, it's 3rd and 4. And so let me just ask you this. When you saw where Ray was and the screen, right, what was available to us from our point of view, what were you thinking in the moment that the ball's over to Ray?
That's a first down. Big Ben just checked it down to the open guy. That guy's gonna, scoot up the field for a yard or two and get the first down.
Yeah, easily, right? Especially from what we've seen from players who may not be on this team any longer, right? With cushions and things of that nature. But instead,
or players who are on the field just a couple quarters before, and we just discussed in the out column.
Yeah, who was in the game, then out of the game, but then somehow was back in the game for some reason until he was out of the game again. So why don't you take this one away? So instead of the easy conversion, which we all, I think, all felt like, crap, they're just going to move the chains here. Instead,
yes, blazing in from outside of the screen, you see Trey Brown just comes screaming in, and like a brick wall, Ray McCloud runs into Trey Brown and goes nowhere. And for a stop and then a punt back to the Seahawks after they had gotten the ball first in overtime. Russ is out there making the coin flip call to get the Seahawks the ball first. And then, they don't go anywhere with it. You're thinking, okay, well, now Pittsburgh's going to get the ball. All they need is a field goal. And yes, Trey Brown coming in and just sticking it to Ray McCloud and getting the ball back for the Seahawks in overtime.
It was a beautiful play. It was a get up off the couch, even though it was late play. And I went back and paused it, and I was like, all right, how far away is he when he starts to break? Just like, physically, what's the space there to go look at? The best I could mark it was about 7 or 8 yards. And by the way,
5, but yeah,
no, it's a little deeper. Yeah, because he's coming in from about the 35-yard line when he recognizes that's to his side. Now, by the way, it might be like, well, what's he got that much room for? That wasn't his guy. If you watch the onset of the play, Trey Brown is just beelining back. He's got a dude, he got a man. So he's backing up with his guy, makes the recognition. It's just that tenacity. It's that break on the ball, and he stuck him. I don't want to belabor it. You hit it perfectly. It was just so dang refreshing to see a rookie who we've been waiting for. And, it was like, hey, he's sticky, he's twitchy, he hits hard, he's undersized for a corner, but the NFL's kind of changing. And maybe, if I could change and you could change and DJ Reed could be good, let's get another guy like DJ Reed. And we don't need a 6'3" corner. We always talk about how the Seahawks don't change and the Seahawks never make pivots. Well, I mean, a little bit of credit where credit's due. They made a sea change in their philosophy with what their corners have to look like to be successful on this team. So at least recognize that as fans and just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And while we're doing that, we could celebrate that number 22 looks like a baller. This guy looks like he could freaking play.
And you listen to him after the game in the post-game press conference, and the guy was glowing, and it was a little bit weird because it came immediately after DK Metcalf's press conference where he was just furious and fuming. And then you could tell because he knew that he had played well, and that that with this being his first game back, like he was genuinely excited just about his being able to perform in the NFL. And he was asked about this, and the way that he diagnosed it, just seeing that Ben the way his shoulders were turned, the way the receiver, he was able to come off his guy and take out McLeod there because of just what he was diagnosing in that particular moment. And hearing that from a rookie is, it's one thing if it's a veteran player where, you talk about a guy who studies a bunch of tape and, that's the type of guy that they are. But to hear it from a rookie, I'm excited about Trey Brown.
Yeah, so much so that I even believe that if he broke on a pass over the middle, he might use his hands. He might not let it rattle off his face. He may actually put his hands up there to try and catch it, right? So
yeah, it's weird that you could actually also target a receiver while also maybe looking if the ball is coming your direction.
Can these two things happen at once, right? I mean, we're talking
both things. Maybe.
We're talking about great instincts from Trey Brown, and of course, I'm jabbing at Jamal, deservedly so, and great. Beautiful instincts on both of those plays. One was fully executed, one was not. But that isn't in. We're excited about Trey Brown. We're not excited about 2 and 4. But Brandon, what we are excited about? We do have a great section from the flock, and we got a lot of cool takes. So before we do get to From the Flock, if you're new to 3 and 3 Out, you might be like, what the heck is From the Flock, dudes? Well, Brandon, why don't you tell people what is From the Flock and how can they become a part of From the Flock?
Yes, our From the Flock segment is where we get you, the listeners, involved because we want to hear what your thoughts are throughout the game, 3 in, 3 out style. And so you can go on Twitter, you can tweet at Clinton Bond using the hashtag 3i30 and let us know your ins, your outs throughout the game. Is a good time to do it, or after the game if you're rewatching it, much like, those of us who are just maybe sick a little bit that like to watch losses back a second time. But if that's you, then that's how you could do it. You can also join our Discord group. You can go to patreon.com/flock, and a donation of $3 a month or more gets you into our Discord group. And yeah, become a part of the flock, and you can hear your voice heard in this current segment that we're getting into.
Yeah, and it's a ton of fun. I say it all the time. I live in Connecticut, but and I have friends from literally around the globe that I get to watch the game with because of the awesome community that Brandon and Adam have grown throughout the.
And you're a part of this too. You're helping grow this too now, Clint.
I'm sprinkling some water here and there is what I'm doing, but I appreciate that, and that's nice. And speaking of appreciation, it does mean it's probably time to get into From the Flock. So we'll start with this luscious one from DK's Deltoids, who is Hector Mark in the old Discord. He's saying what we're saying. He's saying DJ Reed playing the ball, which is multiple times. Lovely start because I like when I'm validated and vindicated, and people are like, yeah, man, you're seeing what I'm seeing. So to Hector, good job there.
Jason Bonnert comes in with an in, says halftime adjustments. Yeah. And the fact that they completely got away from the run in the second quarter and then just came back in that third quarter and they hammered the rock over and over again. And even one of the pass plays, it was just a throw out to DK so he could run the ball essentially from the outside. So
that was basically a run play. Yeah, a little wide receiver screen that, but that's 2 weeks in a row that DK has made a wide receiver screen work, whereas really hasn't worked too well for some of our other dudes like Swain and stuff. But I got to ask you real quick with the halftime adjustments, do you credit Waldron or do you credit, Carroll running in there and saying, hey, Shane, the main brain, we'll run the friggin' ball? Who do you think had more influence?
You know where my answer is going to be. I think just based on how you asked the question, and it seems like a Pete Carroll thing to where he's making that adjustment.
Yeah, for sure. And just by the way, Flocktimus Prime, Keith was like, I was going to say that in the Discord. So clearly Keith was feeling the halftime adjustments as well. I would think that's me now. So we had Car. All right. So saying, hey, out to that horrible injury for Taylor. We all agree with that one for sure. And then Car says, letting that field goal happen by missing a key tackle. I don't know what play that is. So Brandon, do you recall, that must have been to make it 20-17, I guess.
This was right around midfield, if I remember right. And they did have a 3rd and long, and I'm trying to figure out which field goal it was exactly. But they had, I remember at one point in the game, the Steelers had a 3rd and long, and they picked up a pretty good amount of yards on 3rd down and got the field goal. I think it was that 3rd and 14, and they got a throw out to Freiermuth for 12 yards. But I guess it still would have been, they picked up 12 yards on that play. So if I'm totally off on this one, that no, this was 4th quarter, because it was they were on the Seattle 46, so they had just crossed midfield. It was 3rd and 15. This was this was the series where it was the offensive pass interference on Claypool on 2nd down that backed him up to 2nd and 15. They shut him down on 2nd down. Then on 3rd and 15, it was just a short dump off pass to Harris, and he picked up 12 yards.
Yeah, so kind of gross. And
then they got a 52-yard field goal.
So that's when they banged the 50. Okay, that it all come back to me now. I rewatched most of it, but didn't recall that play. But Carr certainly did, called it out. All right, moving on.
Designed Pete's Beach House comes in, says Adams missing that interception that hit him in the friggin' face, one that would have saved a score.
Yeah, and maybe even could have been. Maybe, I'm not sure. It's a pick 6, but if you got that kind of momentum and you're facing, at that point, you're really facing Big Ben and a bunch of old linemen, right?
Yeah,
You're like,
I don't care. Just the Seattle gets the ball back in that situation, and that potentially saves a score by the Steelers there.
Let me ask you real quickly: what was your immediate reaction watching the play? Like your immediate reaction?
Well, it hit off of him so quick that I needed to see a replay.
Gotcha. I put my head down. I was watching. I was like, yeah, and I just collapsed my head, and I was like, I didn't realize it hit him in the head at that point. I just realized he didn't catch it, and I saw that it was Adams, and we've been talking since a whole year now. That
earlier in the game too.
Well, that one is like, Taylor, I think, had a better shot at it. Yeah. And I think he was, I'm not going to disrupt Taylor. He's got the better shot. However,
he also had Claypool draped on his back.
Yeah, but there's also I thought he was going to go for the low scoop. It's all right, if he misses it, then I'll be another layer, like a little catch-all down here. Neither of them caught the ball.
Nobody got that.
All right, well, we're moving on here. Carr does say DK Metcalf almost losing us the game before we lost it ourselves. This is even I think it was Shannon Sharp calling him out on Twitter, being like, hey, enough with the hero ball. Don't be a dum-dum. You made the nice play, get your butt out of bounds. Kind of saw this last year against the Niners, right? In a crucial game. I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago now. And, DK, I think his heart's in the right place, but sometimes the execution of the brain, just, he's trying for that extra yardage, where you got to realize what's more important is the time, not the extra yard or two that you could possibly get.
If he steps out there's probably still 15 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
And then you are able to run maybe even a play, maybe even 2 plays before kicking the field goal. And ultimately they got to hurry just to get the spike down. Freddie Swain, heads up play by him to get the ball back into the middle. And because, if the refs don't stop the play, even though they waited to stop the play.
I did love that Coach Russ was out in the field, telling Swain, tell Swain, get over there, dude, get over there.
And literally on the field. Russ was literally on the field.
Yep, literally on the field. So, which was just everything about Russ, the pregame thing. It's so corny and dorky and yet lovable and Russ. It's like, well, that's him.
That's our quarterback. That's our quarterback. And B-Wags Biceps comes in. He's got one in for our quarterback too. Russ doing his best Geno impression and winning the coin toss.
That's it. Tails never fails. PNW Hulk has in Trey Brown with the OT stick. Obviously, he saw it the way we saw it, because a lot of people reacted to that in the Discord, and we crowned that as one of the 3 ins, and probably the one we were most excited about too.
John Ryan's face comes in with the in, saying the Hawks didn't quit.
Great, quick synopsis. It's like, we talked about this on the What If show, that what if culture does matter? It's like, oh, the game's passed Pete by. Okay. Maybe there's arguments to be had there, and then we go run the ball and we get back in the game playing quote unquote Pete ball. But one thing the team did not do was give up. This team did not give up on them.
And down 14 points going into halftime, you could see that as a possibility, right?
100%. Like it felt deflated. And I'm texting with my family and my dad's like, don't give up. He's like, you don't know how they could come out. And my dad's a Giants fan, so he knows about, crap teams, especially at this point. I'll hop right into Frost and we'll kick it back to you, because Frost was also on Trey Brown, just saying tight coverage, big spots, everything you want to see from our rookie CB. He's right about that.
Yeah, and when you look at Trey Brown's stat line, the number 4 ranked defender by Pro Football Focus, he was in there for 40 total snaps, so 40 out of the 75 he played, almost half the game. He did come in on that third series, which was apparently by design, according to Pete Carroll after the game, and then had to come in after the Sidney Jones injury. Only gave up 2 receptions out of 5 targets and 9 total yards. So a pretty, and of those 2 catches, only 4 yards after the catch.
Yeah.
A very nice stat line from Brown.
He looked great. He did, it's dudes like that could become quick fan favorites. The same reasons we gravitate towards Neal, because the dude's flying around the ball, and there's a palpable difference when they are on the field. And that's what it felt like with Trey. So one game does not make a Hall of Fame career, but I welcome her.
We could see some down,
of course,
if it has a down game, don't be all over Trey Brown. Oh, I thought this guy was good. He's a rookie, give him time. But I hope that we actually do give him time, and that, hopefully Sidney Jones is fine. It's not a big time injury that's keeping him out, but hopefully it's because of Trey Brown's play and Pete Carroll seeing that against the Steelers, that's the guy who's in the starting lineup opposite DJ Reed come next week.
I'll say it real quickly. Let's not do what we did versus when Ryan Neal shut down the 49ers and we're like, yes, we finally figured it out. And then he gets 6 defensive snaps against the Rams. Pete, I know you're listening. Ken Norton Jr., I hope you're listening. Just, let Trey Brown play. And by the way, I'll sneak this in there because I've been a proponent of it for a while. Let him return kickoffs. Ooh. Let Trey Brown return kickoffs. Here's a sneaky in. This is not on the ledger here. Our kickoff blocking has been phenomenal this year. We don't have the right horse. DJ Dallas does the best he can with his God-given abilities, and it's okay. You put a dude back there that can burn when D gets healthy, when Trey Brown's playing, we can take multiple kickoffs to the house this year if we have the right guy back there. Let Trey Brown return some freaking kickoffs.
And let somebody displace Tyler Lockett as the punt return guy, because we saw Tyler back there receiving punts late in the game.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that. It's because everybody else has stunk back there. And I don't want to see Tyler back there returning punts. I want to see somebody else doing it.
Yeah. At this point in his career, I agree. It's like, and to be like, he's our best guy at that right now. It's like, oh man. And I love Lockett. It was cool to see him. It's like, oh, it's Tyler. At the same time, it's like, don't we got younger dudes who could do that? So.
They haven't shown that they can actually catch the football and hold on to it in pretty important times. So in some reasons, in some aspects, it's good to see Lockett back there, but in others, not so much.
Yep.
Moving back to the out, a prolific day from Karkar.
Yeah.
Out, knowing that there's a good chance we win that game if Wilson isn't injured.
Yeah. I mean, and I'd say flatly, there's a good chance we win most games if Russell Wilson's our quarterback, because in 9+ years, just look at our record. Like that's kind of been the jam, right? So, and again, I think Gino played well. I think he played well enough. Let's put it that way. He played pretty good. He made some good passes, man. We got one from Hong Kong Hawk. He's got a double-edged sword here. He goes, out. Hong Kong's draconian COVID policy has made me cancel my trip to Houston. In Hong Kong's draconian COVID policy has made me cancel my trip to Houston. So in the Sober Yin Raging Rang special here, Hong Kong Hawk, Dave Bloomquist, captures that and tells us he no longer is making it to Houston because apparently he's not allowed to.
I like right hand Dan here. Alex Collins.
Yeah,
and
nice
he just
job.
has in as part of Alex Collins' name.
Very nice.
In DJ Dallas has some good kick returns.
I mean, again, he did his best, so sure.
And then ran straight ahead and then into a guy who you know what? I don't even think he ran into a defender. I think he ran into the back of his own man who was blocking for him.
Yep, I think so too. He just he spiraled into his own guy and just crashed into it. Yep, I think you got it right.
Out lost to a quarterback who fumbles the ball on a pump fake.
Yep.
And out the taller Geno Smith somehow can't seem to beat the D line with his throws. So many batted down at the line.
Yeah, all true things, but great recap by right hand Dan there. He's he ain't wrong. He ain't wrong.
I'm glad we didn't get through this without talking about the number of batted passes that Geno Smith threw, because that was infuriating.
It would have been, it was like 4 or 5. It was I think
we were at least 3 by halftime.
Yeah, I think we were like getting to second hand, like literally needing a 6th or 7th digit. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot to process. Jeremy Evergreen does a nice job here. He goes out. Carlos Dunlap, once again, he puts up a 0 stat line. You can't argue with those stats. I called out earlier that Dunlap
2 hurries. There. He had 2 hurries.
There you go. I think we talked about both of them. He does say in to Jason Myers, basically being clutch, right? Those are tough kicks. And with the whole delay at the end of the game, and is there a second? Is there 3 seconds? It was basically like the longest period of icing the kicker without having to call a timeout. Calm, cool, and collective. He just puts it right through. Myers did a nice job.
B-Wags biceps. I want to give an in to the running game and defense for keeping the game close enough so Geno wasn't forced to pass the ball 50 times. I reckon that was pretty much what we can reasonably expect from a quarterback who hasn't seen a relevant game since forever.
Yeah, pretty logical and even keel take right there, right? Again, I'll say it one more time. Geno played well enough for us to win that ball game. I realize he fumbled, and that stinks. And, players like TJ Watt make TJ Watt like plays. That's just the way it goes. We back on Facebook now with the Seahawkers Pod Ring of Honor. Is it Boucher? Boucher? How's he say his name? Bobby Boucher?
Bobby Boucher, Chris Boucher.
He goes Boucher. Okay, so Chris Boucher, he goes out.
I've asked him before, and now I can't remember. I think it might be Boucher.
Okay, well, if it's Boucher,
we'll you know what? I think it is Boucher, because it's just like the Water Boy.
Yeah, the Water Boy, exactly. Yeah, with Vicky Valancourt and the whole thing. And so out, he says no Alex Collins in overtime, and I think he was just didn't realize when he sent this out that, well, Collins got dinged. I think it was on that play that got called back for holding that Collins takes a hit to his hip and wasn't in the game for the rest.
And not all the punches by TJ Watt.
Yes, not the drive-by mugging, not that.
Kevin Moore says 2 fumbles that have a low chance of happening in the final minutes of the game. # out. # I hate the Steelers more.
Yep, I agree with those hashtags. I agree with that sentiment. And we, Dallas fumbled, got the ball back. DK fumbled. Swain Train gets the ball. And the third time's not a charm for us is what it boiled down to. And speaking of charms, though, we got Bob Meek. I think this is the first time that I've seen Bob Meek out on Twitter. He goes 3-I-3-0, 2 dives to Alex Collins, and a pass to DJ Dallas on a drive when we should have been driving for another score. This whole section of the game, we didn't talk much about this. Mm-hmm. There was a letting up, or especially after then there was later when Collins was out of the game. And we still treated the game as if we had the dynamic running back. It's like, we lost that guy. Like, let Geno go throw the ball downfield a bit more. Go to DK more. Go to Gerald Everett, who made a great play. Go to him more. But we just kind of stuck in the zone of we could beat you on the ground, where the game called for one more adjustment. We did not make that adjustment.
This series, to me, I think this is what Bob is getting at. This series was after they had just had so much success running the football, and they ultimately went 3 and out. And I could not for the life of me, after having so much success running the ball, that they don't run one play action pass on that. They go run, and then the pass to Dallas wasn't even, I think they had 5 wide. So there was not even a threat for play action. And
I remember that play.
Do that in that situation, I thought was a big mistake.
And I think you called that out on either Twitter or Discord or both at that point, saying, hey, but your point is the point, right? When you establish something, you
That's
gain,
when you take them out.
yeah, you gain the social capital to do the next thing well, and then you just didn't do it. Just didn't try the.
Then they waited until overtime,
Yep.
and on the one overtime, I felt like they expected it.
Yep.
Because it was on a
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a bit of like a little, it was just like a rearranging of some of the times the plays were called. But then again, there was like a 3rd and 7 draw to Homer that came up roses, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I know we could be nitpicky, but I agree. Like we earned the right to run play action successfully, and we just squandered it with that drive. So good call out by Bob, and you were on it while it was happening too.
Bailey with the big in, and that's Bailey Lilborn out on Twitter. Big in to Gerald Everett for that grown man catch and run.
That was an exciting play. I mean, that's just one of those things where I think Everett touched the ball twice. The first was that pop pass to start the game, which didn't go anywhere, and then that play where he looked bigger and stronger than the other dudes on the field. And man, that was fun. It's like, hey, can we get some? I mean, that's the thing about this game. We had Everett, we had Uncle Will, we had Penny Hart, we had Freddie Swain. Like, we had this cast of character actors making plays, and we just didn't get the win. It's like, this was the perfect character actor W to go get. That's why maybe it stings so much still.
Well, why don't you close this off? Because I see that you had was an out. This was
the early play to Travis Homer, where he gets like a little dump out of the backfield and breaks like 17 tackles all of a sudden. I was like, wow, okay, Trav. And Bridget, which is a Biscuit 717 out on Twitter, she says, bookmark it right now for 3 and 3 out, because that's a momentum shifter. And just again, it's that idea that we had the ensemble. We got contributions from a lot of different people. And again, this is a Geno Smith led team, and it slips through the fingers, and it's now we're 2-4, Brandon. So that was a lot of different people. The funny part is, man, when we lose, usually the flock is really like the flock is more negative than positive. And yet when this game was done, my inside the ledger was longer, like physically longer than my outside the ledger. On the rewatch, I know there was sloppiness, but I still saw more of good and more positivity and more individual players coming out that I wasn't expecting them to make these kind of plays, and yet they did. That's why I'm sticking with my guns here, man, that at 2-4, it ain't over yet. This is not fire sale season. This is get it together, go beat the Saints, go beat the Jaguars, and get into the bye. I like your point of view, Brandon. Let's check back in on the bye. This Saints game becomes a very, very early season playoff game. Hopefully it's a playoff atmosphere, Monday Night Football at Lumen Field. It's become a must win. We got to find a way to get a W on Monday night.
Got the Saints game on Monday night, then you come back, another home game. So you got back-to-back home games going into the bye week. This needs to be the time for Geno and team to get a couple wins and have this team going into the bye week with some optimism for the second half of the season.
Yes, sir. And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go.